even know what happened today.
this
You know
week.
what? I know what happened today. I'm mad.
Okay, that's great. That's fantastic.
What's
Um,
new?
yeah. It's not good for you to go from a highly fraught work situation right into the talk show because then you're like, screw everyone.
I mean, the fortunate thing is this is not the end of the world.
That's great. That's great. Hi everyone. Welcome to the Health
Hello,
Tech Talk Show.
America. Hey.
We are here.
We are here today for you at 3:01 p.m. Eastern Time on the 22nd. Um, it's Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah. Why are we even having a talk show? It's like
I'm
holiday vacation time. What the
I'm
hell?
not sure. So America, we have this is a separate business. This is neither Innovacor nor Incena, the Health Tech Talk
That's
Show.
right.
It is a separate corporate entity, which means we have a separate email system and a separate Google Calendar, which you may think, oh, y'all, this would be easy for you to integrate that. And you would be correct. However, we've never done that. So poor Melissa not randomly, Melissa tries to get our attention in our Slack channel
And we
in order
never
to schedule
respond.
things, and we don't respond to her. And so she just goes for it. And so here we are, Memorial Day weekend. Welcome to the Health Tech Talk Show. So much happened. This may not be the successful attempt where we have Dr. Vin Gupta actually
No, he's
on.
here. He's here. He's here. He's here. He just had to jump
Oh,
away for a second. I've spoken to him already.
here he is.
There. He
Look,
is.
there he is. He'll
Yeah,
come on
okay.
later. He'll
Don't
come on
don't put
later.
him on blast.
Okay.
He's around.
So this is him. We successfully talked to him once, but we had an unsuccessful equipment situation, so that didn't work. That was at the him. We don't
One
remember.
of them. One of them.
Yeah, it was at one of the conferences and it didn't work. So he's coming back. Well, he came back and then he canceled on us last minute. And apparently Melissa likes emailing with him because other people who do that to us, she doesn't respond to, but she likes
That's
them.
right.
So,
That's right. That's
so
right.
he's back. Max made us this graphic that I only partially understand because I
I'm
don't know pop
so
culture.
mad about it because I would like to be in the Dark Crystal, not the Silence of the Lambs, but that's fine. Whatever. It's
I
still
don't
very
even know if
creative.
it still is, but I was like, whatever. Melissa loved this image. It
Wow.
was an A+ situation all around. So
Amazing.
congratulations, Max. You did a good job. Okay, so this is like affordability week, I think. I just got back from DC. I talked about none of these topics really. But there's a lot that went on in America this week. So starting out, CMS put out this final rule. It was like, to crack down on costs, affordability, blah, blah, blah. You can read the whole thing if you want. But Lisa, I'll go through the headlines that you have delivered to us that go along with this. So, okay, I forget what
Yikes.
order they're in. So in no particular, but potentially particular order, we've got some people pulling out of the marketplaces. It's not great. So those of you who don't know, these are the exchange plans. These were a pivot to get more people insured. This is from Obamacare, for those of you who only speak Republican. So not great. And we've been seeing this throughout the year and years, plans dropping out because they don't make money off the exchanges or they're too operationally difficult or blah, blah, blah.
This is not the only payer who dropped out of the exchange.
It's
It's just the one
not.
that happened today. Like today that I saw that update and I was like, oh,
Some of these are all related here, but as an example, this is from I tried to copy their logo and then I didn't. This is from KFF. Hospital prices have risen much faster for private insurance than Medicare since 2019. So, in addition to these plans just kind of taking a bath financially on being in the exchanges, they have not been able to negotiate the same rates, obviously, as our great government payer, Medicare, CMS. So, that kind of adds to the story.
yeah.
Separately, this final rule does propose something amazing. Well, it doesn't propose, I guess, says it's happening.
Finalizes?
It says it's happening. There's what's known as a ghost network. I actually had to read to understand what this is. And at least I still kind of don't. But a ghost network, I do understand. That's when we have providers listed in our network that aren't even around anymore or no longer
Well,
taking
this is one of the things that has
patients.
been like a criticism of like provider networks of, payers for a long time is that you're like, well, I need to see a doctor. And you go to your insurance company's website and you're like looking up a doctor and then you call them and they're like, I am no longer a business, or they're like, I'm not accepting any new patients, so go away, or whatever. Or the information's wrong, or it's like years out of date, right? And there's been all kinds of, efforts, policy and tech and otherwise to fix this with like, with this like provider directory and all these rules and rules around network adequacy that have been hotly contested. But like, this is still an issue. And that's a ghost network plan where they're like, we think these guys are around. We don't know.
Yeah, so that's not good. And that's kind of a creation of some of these pricing pressures. However, a no network plan. When I read this, I was like, is this a bunch of like raging lefties at the Center on Health Insurance Reforms who are saying this? No, y'all, this is actually a real thing that the administration is pushing, these no network plans. And when I was reading through it, I was actually like, is this just like a coupon plan? That's kind of what it is, like a coupon. Like you sign up for a no network plan. I hope it's really cheap. And you basically get a coupon. That's like
I don't think it's really cheap, unfortunately, but yeah, it's not great. It's not great. I mean, like it's pretty amazing how quickly like insurance coverage is cratering in the US. It feels like we are hurtling towards a cliff of again, that number of people who are functionally and practically uninsured being really high. And by the way, guys, that's not good. It's not good because then, like everything, like we've been saying until we're freaking blue in the face here, like when people don't get like preventive health care, don't get primary care, don't get health care when they are actually sick, then when they just get worse and worse and worse, they're almost dying, they roll up into the ER or they die or whatever it is. And that is horrible for people, for families, for the economy, for the community, for humanity, all those things. Like these are bad things. It's not positive to have people practically or functionally uninsured. It really is not.
yeah, we've had several guests on recently that have said like the U.S. health insurance system is like about to collapse. Like
We got a
it's just
problem. We
totally
got a big
unsustainable.
problem. Big problem.
And to actually put my slides in some sort of logical order, this is the Milliman Medical Index, just came out this week. So what I didn't copy because I didn't have a lot of time is that you see here typical healthcare costs for someone, an average person, almost $8,500. Last year, it was actually much less. It was only, only 7,838. And they're saying this is actually
Cool.
the highest cost increase in more than a decade. So let's just go back to that. A family of four on average is paying almost $38,000 a year for healthcare. That America is
That's a lot of money, y'all.
That's a lot. That's more than a lot of people's rent. Like,
That's a lot of
yeah.
money.
Yeah, so
Yikes.
things are getting a little dicey. So yeah, as you can see here, this is also an interesting chart that I think our new best friend Martin Check included on Health Tech Nerds from the Milliman report, saying that this is actually apparently the report believes a lot of this is related to AI upcoding.
Cool.
So yeah,
Even
like
better.
we've heard all that drama about like sepsis and everything getting upcoded. Now there are companies that are downcoding. There's like everything. All the things, the AI robots are already fighting with each other over your health insurance billing, which is cool, I guess. Yeah, So
Are you excited for your insurance renewal this year, Kat? Are you when they're
so
gonna murder you guys?
we already got murdered as previously disclosed. So our insurance
Oh,
cycle, unlike most people, because we're in the ADP PEO, because we are a small business, about between 25 people. We are in this larger pool, and even us, a group of small businesses, our insurance increased by 16%. That's so cool. Love it. In a year where, by the way, like a lot of companies in healthcare took a bath. And
right.
that, in case if you don't know what I'm saying, that's bad. I wasn't bathing in dollars, I was.
The money wasn't raining down on you like a
Yeah,
shower of money.
yeah. That didn't
Cool.
happen. I was
Cool. Good
bathing in
times.
lost bookings because half my clients, turns out, somehow downstream are funded by our single payer system in the United States. But anyway, so that was cool. That's great. But yeah, our insurance renewal, I think we already signed up, and our insurance renews in June or something like that. I don't know, but it freaking sucks. But don't worry, they increased our HSA allotment at the U.S. federal government, so
Cool.
we can do that instead. Speaking of, I think this is my next slide. Republicans love HSAs. So the plan here, while we're taking a bath as a collective
I
population of
also love HSAs, but I
America,
love it because I am, relatively speaking, a rich person who uses it as a tax hedge, as do most
same.
people who max out their HSAs because it's a very, very flexible retirement account.
Yeah, and
It is
now
not paying for
you
healthcare.
can invest your tax-free dollars in your HSA in the great US stock market and take a bet on America. So yeah, but for many people who do not have the dollars to invest their HSA and must spend it on healthcare expenses, this is the solution. So the the GOP is talking about how do we push different solutions that put more of the. It wasn't quite said this way, and again, I'm like pro. Let's just abolish health insurance generally. Like I'm into that. Like I think we should just all do
Oh
self-pay,
boy.
whatever. But everybody knows that like I say that stuff all the time. I'm also pro no regulation. So, don't listen to me all the time. This is not what most
She
people
has
think.
bad ideas, y'all.
I generally like the idea of like the ICRAs. I like HSA. I know my ideas are not compatible with Lisa's generally, but we're still friends.
We're still friends.
As an employer, I would love to just give my people that chunk of cash that I spend on their premiums, and just be like, go forth and find health insurance. Like, and I don't care what you do with it. Like, whatever. Like, you want to like go to a functional doctor and do cash pay? God bless America. You are free. But it doesn't work like that because it doesn't. But this is what the GOP plans is to push ICRAs and HSAs a little bit more.
Well, it's just also super dumb because, by the way, like right now there is essentially no penalty for you in the vast majority of states, or no issue whatsoever. It's very trivially easy for you to not have health insurance if you don't want to and spend your money on whatever fake, thing you read about and or hear about from the Joe Rogan show, not the Joe Rogan show, Joe Rogan show. You can do that. Like if we all those requirements, all of that, whatever, that's pretty much been dropped. Like it's not that big of a deal. So if you want to do it, you can. The reality is most people want to have some kind of health insurance because they don't feel safe to have the huge amount of risk behind that if something really terrible happens to them. So that's it. People want health. Yeah. People mostly want health insurance. They do. And so the idea that you can't do whatever you want and like spend money on whatever alternative therapies you want, you can. You don't have to spend it on health insurance. That's up to you. Most people want health insurance for their families and they are concerned about being exposed to 100% risk of like your own life and limb and health and whatever. So it's fine, great. Like given the system we have, like there was one thing, I don't know if you saw it on HTN as well, a company that I had talked to a little bit called Spence that's doing like HSAs after the fact. So basically if you have an HSA open with your employer, even if you haven't contributed to it, you can actually, they have a system where there's a part of like the code that governs HSAs and the tax code or something where they can actually go back and like look at your expenses, your eligible expenses, and apply it after the fact and just give you a refund. And also give your employee. I know it's crazy. I don't know all the details. Like there was a lot of details I didn't pay attention fully. But there is something in the tax code to allow that. So like there is a way to do like after the fact HSA reimbursements. So there are some probably creative solutions here to help people out with this existing tax code that don't require upfront contributions to the HSA. So like I'm not against. I'm pro. Let's do it. Let's do care more affordable.
Yeah. I'm into that. I should go actually read that. That's cool. But yeah, so this is like most people aren't like me. Also, like I would have if I had a catastrophic medical event, I would be fucked too. So this is more like,
Well, you wouldn't. You have health insurance, and theoretically, it's good enough that if it was like over your massive deductible, then eventually it would kick in.
Yeah, after $100 million, they would say you're capped out. But I do think at least most people who I know, and I'm obviously self-selecting people. Well, that's not true because you're my friend Lisa and you love unions. But I do think most people, if they got ICRA money, they would buy health insurance. Like they wouldn't be like, I'm gonna go buy some peptides. But maybe they would. But they would also get some sort of plan, especially for the family. It just seems like reasonable. But yeah, the intent here is like the more Americans feel the pain from their own pocketbook, the more they'll shop around for transparent prices and make the U.S. healthcare system operate more like the great free markets. I consistently disagree with the idea that this market can be disrupted by consumerism because
it ain't free.
when you got the cancer and a doctor's telling you some wacky complex treatment that you don't
You're like, let me go
understand.
shop around for my
Yeah, the last
cancer
thing you're going
treatment.
to do is go, hold on a second. Let me just go look up all the prices at my local oncology centers. No, you're
Right.
not going to do that. Also, if you're someone who's at all vulnerable, an elderly person who doesn't really know how to use the internet, or like someone who just got a lot going on and you're on Medicaid, you're also not really shopping for prices. So I think that is just like, I don't know,
Have
like
you ever
I
tried to get
love
an
you.
appointment? Have you ever tried to get an appointment for a medical appointment for any reason whatsoever and had it happen immediately? I sure haven't.
Well, right, that's the thing too. Let's say you got the
Jesus.
cancer, or you've got endometriosis or something. You got something that's going down. Are you really going to say the cheapest place has a 6 month wait, so I'll just chill? Or are you just going to go where they can get you? I mean, like, there's just like a lot of things at play here that the market. This is not a free market as much as I wish it was.
Yep.
So
Agreed.
please, all the GOP people on the Hill who listen to our talk show, which I'm sure is everyone, please reconsider which lobbyist told you that consumerism and healthcare was the end all be all to save America. It is not.
That's right.
Speaking of consumerism and healthcare, this Monday, I believe there was a presser on Trump RX and how they're adding a shit ton of new drugs. And Lisa, of course, has provided me all of the subsequent slides here, giving us some of the feedback. So, by the way, I think it's great that we have a place to find some transparent pricing for regular drugs. There were about 600 generic drugs added to Trump RX, which is like totally cool. Mark Cuban is in. He's down to clown, as Lisa says, which is great. This is from the WAPO. However, then she sent me this person's LinkedIn, who I looked up, and
Sarah's awesome.
She appears to be a legitimate, very knowledgeable person.
She
aren't
is.
friends, but Lisa, tell us what's
She's
actually
a long
happening.
time business of pharmacy reporter.
What is happening?
Yeah, I mean, listen, like basically Mark Cuban, Cost Plus Drugs, Amazon Pharmacy, and GoodRx just brought a bunch of all of their prices and stuff are being aggregated on Trump RX. So nothing has actually changed in terms of like these drugs being available. Like you said, there's no harm in having all the prices listed. There's probably multiple places for that. If one of those places is Trump RX, that is just fine. But we actually do have a good amount of increasing access and transparency around generic drugs through like Mark Cuban Cost Plus Drugs and Amazon Pharmacy and GoodRx and these companies that have, I guess, pushing back on your consumerism and healthcare piece, right? Because the prices for these drugs, direct and usually cash pay, is now so much cheaper. People have started buying some of those generic drugs directly from these online retailers, essentially like Cost Plus Drugs and Amazon Pharmacy and whatever. Personally, my statins come from Mark Cuban Cost Plus Drugs, and they were $7.92 for a 90-day supply. And it was like, it's not even worth it for me to try to use my insurance. And by the way, it's not going to help me. And by the way, my deductible is $7 billion. So who cares? Here's my credit card, Mark Cuban. And that that's what it is. So it's great, wonderful. Let's get more, awareness about being able to find cheaper drug prices. That just exposes how stupid the system is, quite frankly.
I do think drug prices are different, right? Because you can get these things even like what Photon does, right? Like they immediately send you a text as a consumer, and you can see, of the pharmacies nearby, including CVS online and Amazon Pharmacy and all that. I can get these drugs at the following prices. That's different because it is instant, right? And someone is aggregating the services for you. I agree. I actually think this, and I think that's why the administration focuses on it. It's a low-hanging
It's an easy
fruit.
one. People like it. People care. It's a huge cost. It's a important something you usually can't do without. And by the way, in terms of like the gap between, people being sick, people getting medical care, people having their chronic conditions managed, getting and staying on like therapeutics of various types is really, really important. And that gap between when you get prescribed a drug or prescribed some kind of treatment and actually getting on it and staying on it and managing your side effects and all those things, that's a really, really important gap that we can improve and that we can actually act on. And that has a huge effect on people actually getting healthy and staying healthy. That's an area of leverage. And it's such a freaking disconnect right now. I was prescribed something like 4 weeks ago now. And it literally took that much time because my prior authorization for our stupid PBM, sorry, you guys suck, was literally listed as 14 business days. And they literally waited until the last business day to approve it. I'm glad they did. 14 business days. During that time, I forgot about it. I remembered it. I forgot about it again. I was like I completely lost the plot. Like that is way too much time, and that disconnect between prescribing and getting on something and getting care management and support and all that kind of stuff. That is what we can actually act on to improve health. Stupid.
Yeah. Super eloquent.
14 business
Hey.
days. 14 business days. My ass. What about AI? Come on.
Yeah. What about AI?
And it was so
What if
straightforward. It was like everything was there. 14 business days. All
14
right.
business days sounds like a bunch of bullshit? Hey,
It really is.
unrelated, which I was thinking about, which I did not include in this deck, but is sort of related to drugs and timing and stuff like that, and therapeutics and having ongoing access. What do you think
Sure.
about the estrogen patch shortage?
So I think that drug shortages are dumb, or therapeutics or treatments, but I also think that that is like at the edge of clinical appropriateness for a lot of people. Sorry, I know I'm probably going to get death threats now, but like I think that a lot of people are being. It's just like with the earlier days of GLP-1s, right? People being prescribed things that are not necessarily indicated. Again, everyone remember, just so we say it again,
We're
neither
not
Kat nor
doctors.
I are not doctors, not medical professionals. Do not listen to us. Like we have nothing to say that is like, appropriate in this area, but this is my straight up opinion. This kind of stuff is being prescribed by often like online only outlets that may or may not have like full clinical oversight. People are going there because there is a serious issue where women with perimenopause or menopause are like ignored incredibly frequently by the healthcare system, and they're looking for solutions quickly. And in those situations, it's more likely than not that some people are getting things that are not clinically appropriate and are not having the right amount of oversight and monitoring and support for those things. And so when you have that major, like a demand push and then like a supply available, then yeah, you probably will result in these kind of like shortages. But it's serious. Like I have friends who are like, my life is very bad right now because I can't access this thing that's been helping me in a significant way.
Yeah.
So yikes. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
think, Kat?
I I don't understand why there's a shortage.
Well, that's a complicated question, but
I don't get it.
manufacturing of like pharmaceuticals and things like that is complex and related to a complex global supply chain that gets disrupted all the time whenever we have like a war or something. That's my best guess.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah, maybe it's that we're
War
bombing
related.
Iran. And we might take over Cuba soon, so maybe it is war related.
Mm,
I don't know, TBD.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know. I have lots of opinions about the estrogen stuff. I think women should have access to it. I think we should have access to hormone replacement therapy. I do think it is currently the panacea for all that ails women over 40. And that
yeah,
bothers me. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
am
yeah,
sure there's an over prescribed situation.
yeah,
That is
yeah.
my personal opinion as not a member of the media, not a real journalist, not a lawyer or an expert on anything.
That's
So,
right. That's right. That's
yeah.
right. Opinion.
Oh, provider directory. I feel
Oof.
like there's like so much. Okay, Lisa. Okay, so we can go into this, which is fine. Basically, this guy like did some cross-referencing thing and was like, the current provider directory stuff that's up is like bullshit. Whatever. Cool. Why is this even news? Why does anyone care about the provider directory?
Because CMS has like made it a big deal that there was something that they were going to develop themselves. And they were like, this is a key part of, let's say, in this case, we're talking about the CMS health tech ecosystem. I think the folks at CMS said this is a thing that could and should be like a bit of a utility. And we're CMS, we run Medicare. Like almost all providers in the country are, like accept Medicare. The NPI is through Medicare, and we should be able to do this. Unfortunately, it's like really difficult, right? The cheapest way I can say it, it's like it's really difficult. It's not easy. And even like bigger tech companies with more resources even than CMS have struggled to do this well. So this guy Eugene, who I've met before, he's just using he's vibe coded a tool to look at this. So just like not endorsing or non-endorsing, just noting. But he's running some descriptive statistics around it and looking and comparing different databases and finding some things that look concerning.
Yeah. Cool. I just
Cool.
really want to care about the provider directory. I just have like a hard time caring. Like I'm here for it.
But this is important though, right? Like it's important that the government would have things in here that are like, providers who have been excluded for like fraud, waste, and abuse things, right? Or they're not enrolled anymore. That's an issue, right?
Like totally. But question, like, we always think about like who, like, because like there's a lot of press about the National Provider Directory, and I'm kind of like, okay, like I guess they're working on it. But like, who do you think is starting all the drama? Like, is it just that there are that many interested nerds out there into the provider, or is it like a bunch of the companies that are losing business or like campaigning against it?
Well, I mean, like we always say here on the Health Tech Talk Show, if you read some negative news about something or someone, like you should probably guess that there was a source behind it that was not favorable, right? They lost the business or whatever. So it's a good thing to point out, I would say.
Yeah. And this is just this slide is just like the continuation of that post. This is what he was checking out here. But anyways, that's cool. So I'm sure we'll hear more about the provider directory, and we look forward to screenshotting more media into our decks about it.
Nice.
Ryan Howells has feelings on AI. Has he always had feelings on AI, or is this new?
I think this is maybe a newish focus.
Yeah. So Ryan's saying, like, okay, also, do we believe, and Ryan, we like you. I know we've talked about this, that our show is about not always sugarcoating stuff. Lisa, do we believe that Ryan's post was written with AI?
It might have been written with AI. I'm just looking.
I kind of felt like it was. I kind of feel like any overuse of emojis indicates active AI use.
I like this post though, and also I really I loved that all these people were booed at the commencement speeches. First of all, commencement speeches are like always a boondoggle. If you're like a semi-famous person, like don't do a commencement speech. Like you're never gonna do better than Steve Jobs. So like don't even try. And it's just kind of embarrassing. And then getting booed because you're basically like, AI is going to take away your jobs to these like 18-year-olds or whatever, these 21-year-olds. That's just not, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, no, obviously they're going to boo you. All kids are also mean. I would never speak in front of a group of like Gen Zers or whatever they are now. No way. They would totally call me out. I have like nieces and nephews who are that age and I'm afraid of them. That's just what it is.
My kids call me out all the time and say mean things about me. So whatever. Also, Lisa, I think I'm not at risk of ever giving a commencement address.
Right.
Like, I don't think anyone's going to call me.
Don't do this.
But listen, if they do call either of us, we should go together.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
What's Scott's Stewie question?
I don't know. What's he questioning here?
Scott, you gotta give us more deets. We don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I do think that
the square give it away. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, Scott.
That's pretty good. Mm-hmm. I would just say like this whole thing, I do think we are going to get a more of a backlash to AI, used in this way, presented in this way. All of the companies who work in the space are desperately trying to hire policy people to work on data center lobbying, and this public sentiment is not good. People don't love this. Yep.
Yeah. I will say a lot of people, not over 50%, are negative, which actually makes me think the post was even more not viewed less positively than two particular parties. It's that they counted neutral as negative, which is not typically, even me in PR land, that's not typically how I look at that stuff. So I think the AI was wrong here. But I mean, I actually don't actually think this is whatever, super awful. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think the AI is campaigning against itself. That's what I'm saying. Scott, glad
the AI wants to unplug itself. That's what it is.
But anyway, a lot of people, I mean, I will say like not a lot of people are super huge fans, and more people dislike Donald Trump than AI, which is probably a win for AI. I don't know. Whatever. But there have been a lot, there's a lot of negative sentiment even in Congress, which sometimes comes to work, that they're trying to bring down the AI. But I think that's mostly data center stuff.
Sometimes.
And layoffs.
Sometimes they come to work.
Yeah.
Not always.
We'll see. Maybe they'll be back soon. We have more on our senators and stuff coming, but also, I don't know why I put this slide in here. I think it was supposed to be in the cost section, but basically CMS is saying for Medicaid dollars, they're going to put caps on excessive state payments. There's been a lot of press recently. There's been a lot of press
directed payments.
Yeah. So they're going to cap it. So they're saying it's going to be 775 billion in savings generally, and something 510 billion in federal savings. So as you know, Medicaid is a combo of state and federal payments for health insurance for those who are underserved. So I haven't done enough of an analysis, as you absolutely know, to know if this is reasonable.
I mean,
neither of you. Cool, great. Well, we'll do it. We'll talk about some other time when there's more headline. Commure, do we like these guys?
I mean, I was just at an event presenting alongside someone from Commure at the the National Rural Health Association conference with our friends at AWS, and there was myself and then Commure and a couple other folks. Lido was presenting. They do a similar thing as to Innovacer, more or less. They're a pretty sprawling company with a bunch of different pieces, just like Innovacer, and really large. But it's great. Somebody raised a lot of money and has a huge valuation. That benefits me. Good job.
Yay!
Yay!
Oh, and this is, we're going into more of our ridiculous portion of the show before we bring on our very useful and logical and real guest. But this is a snapshot of Lisa Berry's Threads feed, which I thought was so great for so many reasons.
It's actually not my Threads feed.
Oh, it's not?
In full transparency, it is our friend Kemper's Threads feed.
Oh,
because I don't actually use Threads anymore because I'm trying to not support.
Isn't Threads like worse than Twitter now with like ridiculous shit?
They're all bad, honestly. You just pick your poison. But this is just an example of like the news apocalypse moment right now. You guys, just when you think about this from a policy perspective and a politics perspective, we are very much in the it's not even calm, but the calm before the storm of midterms, which have already started. The political gravity of the midterms in the American political system is become increasingly impossible to ignore every couple of years here, and with every administration. And this is going to be a doozy. So I just would say, hold on to your butts, because if you thought I've had enough politics and I've had enough news for my one lifetime, I don't think it's going away.
It's not. So let's just go through a little bit of this, which I did think was Lisa's, but it makes sense that it's Kemper's also. Breaking, Tulsi Gabbard resigns. Whoops. Next one. Trump's like, I'm not going to my kid's wedding, but I wish them all the best. God bless America. Whatever. And then JD Vance says he's not running for president in 2028. I had to fact check that. Apparently he did say something cryptic that was broadly interpreted.
I bet that he didn't actually say that. I bet it's someone.
He said something
hopeful.
He said something like, "Oh, I love being a vice president. Like, I love my job." Like, I think it was more like, "Hey, I'm not overshadowing the big guy." That's the impression I got, but whatever. So anyway, it's more is happening all the time.
Yep.
So it's true. Tulsi Gabbard is resigning or preparing to resign. This is reported in basically every news outlet. She is anti-foreign intervention, and not sure if everyone's noticed. We are currently a pro-foreign intervention country.
We are currently
intervening, and we also are like, oh, hey, Taiwan. Oh yeah, those guys. You know what? We need all of the planes and missiles. We are going to send those guys. We're going to send them to Iran. So
we're going to use them.
Also, we sent 5,000 troops to Poland. We're just, we are not intervening. We're just whatever. This is the other thing. Yeah. So I'm not a candidate. I think, but if you read the actual court, you're right, Lisa, there's a lot of leeway in there. I think he's probably running, just like I think Zohran Mamdani is eventually going to run for president, even though he was like, I'm never running for president. I'm the mayor of New York.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever, people say shit all the time. Okay. And this is the best part. We have two more things that we're going to talk to our real guests. Okay. So, as everybody knows, Bill Cassidy got defeated in his primary. Super sad because he was like a moderate Republican, sort of sometimes. And apparently, Trump got him. He said he also got some other guys. Who's that funny guy, Massey?
Massey
I think that
in
guy's
Kentucky.
funny.
Massey's hilarious. He's an iconoclast. Let's just say.
Yeah, what did he say? He's like, I'm sorry it took me so long to give my concession speech or whatever to you guys. It took me a while to call my opponent and congratulate him because he was somewhere in Tel Aviv.
Yikes. Got him.
I mean, that guy's funny. Okay, but so everybody's like, oh my gosh, like the midterms aren't going to be a total blue wash, a blue wave, because like, okay, America, I am not a political strategist, a lawyer, a doctor, or a real media person, as everybody knows. But Lisa, do you not feel like this is actually bad for Republicans because they've gotten rid of all the moderate candidates now?
Yeah.
And now
It's really concerning. It's really concerning. I mean, for those of us who want to see, more centrists or whatever, or more people who are, represent the what most people in America actually believe, which is very like centrist beliefs. If you look at where both parties are, there people don't really want to be extreme in most cases. It's very concerning when you got a washout like this. I mean, I don't know. I don't, again, also not a legitimate political strategist here. No one should listen to me, but I just think like, oof, I wouldn't have been my move if I wanted to stay in power.
Also, Trump has now created the YOLO caucus.
YOLO.
OMG, I love this so much. I've been hearing this on the podcast for the past few days. But yeah, this photo is so good. Like, so good. Yeah, so the YOLO caucus, they've got 7 months. I guess they're going to block a bunch of stuff. I think they tried to block Trump doing more war stuff, but then they chickened out and they canceled that vote. So I don't know.
No. The vote was canceled because the speaker didn't have the votes. It's actually a win for the YOLO caucus, and I would just like to say, YOLO caucus, I invite you to be active members of Congress and do your jobs and show up and engage. And if this is what it took, then God bless you.
This is why we should have term limits.
This is why we should have term limits. That's right.
This is why. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
YOLO.
Oh, here. Scott is here. He's on fire today. If you eat your own, expect indigestion. Yeah. YOLO. Okay.
YOLO.
Lisa, okay. I hear Innovesa acquired a company. What?
Yeah. Innovesa acquired a long-standing RCM company, Caduceus Health, which is exciting news in these parts. It's a big time for both finding the best in automation and the best in people.
All right. Well, okay, America. We have our real guest is actually a real doctor.
He's here.
He's really here. So maybe he can give us medical advice. I don't know. Hello,
we need it. Mostly mental health.
Welcome back again.
Thanks for having me back. It's great to be here. I've enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah. Well, so I enjoyed our first conversation that was inaudible on the recording. Would you please introduce yourself because our loyal fans did not get to hear your intro last time.
Sure. So for all our viewers and listeners, Vin Gupta, I'm a pulmonologist in Seattle. Spent 13 years in the U.S. Air Force Reserves. They helped subsidize my medical training, a big part of my life. For a very long time, but through that got involved in a lot of health policy and health media and technology. And so I spend my time both at the bedside for part of my life, but then do a lot in the way of health technology. Was at Amazon for 6 years as one of their clinical leaders, and continued to do a lot in the way of health media and public health communication for what is now MS Now, but was previously MSNBC. So it's great to be here, and I will say that I was jotting down notes about commencement speakers and whether or not to accept an invite, having just come back.
Say no.
And so, but
wait, you just came back from 2?
I was invited. This is my first time. I spoke to medical students at Kaiser.
That's good.
And then,
did they make fun of you? Did they boo you for saying anything about AI?
No, it was interesting because I was thinking about that very topic. I brought it up in a way where I actually try to reassure them. which was to say, so I had a chance to speak to them in a public health school, Rutgers, just a few days ago, and it was interesting because and when it comes to AI, I directly tackle. I try to give them at least my take on things. And I said that you're not being replaced, you're being redefined. And so it was a hopeful message. And it was the opposite of what I've seen from the Google CEO or the former Google CEO and others sort of, telling people what we already know and fear, which I agree with the two of you.
It's just a weird, like, why would you say that to
Why
people
would
who
you
are
say
about
that?
to graduate? Like, they're looking at their futures.
Yeah, it has to be hopeful. And I think there are threads here that are hopeful, but so I've seen that. And the last thing you want to do is not try to give hope to the graduating sort of next generation. So I was really troubled by what I saw there, but no, but I do appreciate. I was enjoying the commentary on that, just given the way I spent the last week. But no, it's good to be here with you guys.
Well, you've spoken at 2 more commencement speeches than I probably ever will. So I'm congratulations. That's great. That's fantastic. Are you going to say something smart?
No. It's just, I don't know. It's a reflective time because I think that the mentors that have existed for me, I'm not curious how you guys have navigated this in your career, but I'll say as a doc that has done different things and is, not 100% full-time doc, not a researcher in a lab and clinical for part of my time, but sort of doing different things and marrying it up with my bedside care. There is such a dearth of mentorship that meets the moment of where I think young graduates are. I mean, I met public health students that are running towards fires and see that our institutions are in trouble and recognize are not in any way deluded about the current state of public health and are so proud about their accomplishment and what they want to do. And so it was really reinforcing. And in some ways, what I think we need is generational renewal and out with the old, in with the new. And the new just feels so mission oriented and they want to do different things and they want to innovate in how they spend their time and redefining the roles of, what it means to be a provider, what it means to be a public health practitioner. They're not letting past be prologue here. And I just love that. And I think if there's anything that we maybe can all agree on is that we need generational renewal. And hopefully that brings us to a better place.
Amen. Like really fast. I think the AI question and the mentorship question are obviously related because, one of the, and I think, who said this? Matt Garman, the AWS CEO, just came out and said, like, this is the stupidest thing you could possibly do to try and, not hire young people and people who are newer in their careers or early in their careers because you're replacing them with AI. Because we're like, you just, how will the next, like, I think AI tools that are available today, let's just talk about in business and maybe in healthcare and healthcare technology settings, can be helpful, but they are only helpful if wielded in the hands of somebody who already is an expert and understands what is real, what is fake, the things that Kat was looking at, right? Like you only know that if you've been doing this for 20 plus years and understand, what things actually are. And if you're new in your career or, just whatever, you just don't have that judgment, and you only learn that by doing it. And so it's just we are creating a situation where the bottom is going to fall out. And that's if that's our approach, if that's how we talk about it, that's what we actually do in healthcare and technology. Otherwise, like, we're going to be in serious trouble. It is a bad idea. People have to become experts.
I agree with you. And there are the natural concerns. I'm actually sitting here in an office in Seattle where I just had a conversation. I can't name the entities, but there are a lot of conversations underway about how do we build the nation's next medical school in a place like Seattle.
Yeah.
And these are well-known entities that are trying to come together, partly in recognition that artificial intelligence can augment and improve the efficiencies by which we educate the next generation of healthcare workers. But no one in the room felt that it should be substitutive and replace. Because, there was this recent polling you may have seen from the Annenberg Center about a month ago saying that 86% of Americans, more than anything else, more than any other entity, trust their human provider on all elements of their healthcare information, their healthcare journey. I think it was like less than 40% trust, the current leaders in our federal government shepherding our healthcare agencies. But somewhere in between, and in no case did anybody say, give me the AI chatbot to give me difficult news or to help guide me and to commiserate. And I think we're seeing that play out in these commencement addresses, the booing and the backlash, because that's not what people want. People don't want you call the airline because your flight got canceled or whatever it is. You don't want to navigate the AI sort of voice chatbot. You want to press 0 and speak to a human. And in healthcare, that's never been more true. And so I do think a lot of these tech companies, my former employer, others, tend to over-index on things that they're good at. In this case, it's AI chatbots and AI everything, because they're not necessarily strong in the human element.
Mhm.
And just because that's what their comparative advantage is, doesn't mean that that's where we need to be going as a society. And and now there's any number. I think there was an op-ed written by David Solomon on the top of the fold in the New York Times today, Goldman Sachs CEO, saying that this notion that AI is going to be this big job replacer is actually a pretty lazy and easy take.
Super lazy. It's super lazy. But there's no, unfortunately, or fortunately, if you're a cat, we don't have central planning here in the United States of America. And so we don't do a great job, really with that forward thinking, workforce development. It's just not a skill that apparently we're very good at, but you would need to do active things to reskill, retrain, imagine, create the jobs of the future that leverage a more advanced technology in different industries, right? We just don't do a good job of that, and we're certainly also not central planning it. So it's not really happening.
Yeah, I think you're right. I sometimes, and I sometimes do wonder in these, advanced planning for the next generation of medical schools, and if we're really looking for efficiencies that are driven by technology, and the economics of training the next generation of healthcare workers is always challenging, becoming even more challenging.
Yep.
We're talking about 3-year models, whatever it may be. But should there be more of I'm just posing the question, should there be more of a vocational approach to how we think about, why am I as a pulmonologist trained up until, why is 60% of my education similar to a plastic surgeon or an orthopedic surgeon, or even 70%, and then we deviate for the last 30? Are we sure we're building a model of education for a critical capacity for society that makes sense? Or are we losing efficiencies, and is it costing us more money? And are we losing a lot of people in the workforce that we need because it takes too long, it's costly? And so, not to overly plan, but do we give too much option value to students and are we not prescriptive enough to say, hey, you will get a free education and an MD or DO or whatever, but we need you to, it's just like in the military, we need you to fill this role. In return, we will give you free education. And by the way, we're going to cut off 3 years from point A to point B. I just think we're at a place where we need to be thinking differently about, especially if we're having this sort of come to Jesus moment about the role of AI, and that it's not going to be all of our solves.
Well, you can't. What does it normally take you? It would be like a 12 to 14 year, post high school experience to become a specialist in a particular area with a fellowship, right? It's just it's crazy, right?
It's crazy. I mean, for me, it was 16.
It's not realistic. It's not realistic, right? It doesn't even. I mean, I've complained on this show multiple times about how the UK and the Australian and the New Zealand and other health systems have a basically a combined bachelor's and MD program, And I mean, is it too much to ask people to decide to do this when they're relatively young? It's a thing that's going to take you forever, and it's super expensive and time consuming. And it's a little bit, patronizing to say like, oh no, you go into college and you should just hang out for 4 years, get your degree, do whatever you want, then think about it. That's not realistic for most people in their careers and their lives. And like, you can I mean, people who are 18 can make decisions like that. They can. And like, they should be doing more advanced work. America has a terrible education system for, under 12th grade. So just like, whatever, like, we should find ways to make that shorter and more focused and more vocationally focused, because the world where the few people can sort of sit in their ivory towers and like, whatever, read, Greek, whatever Kat probably did in her religion degree, like, it's not like that's not realistic anymore.
Yeah, I mean, my quick reaction.
Sorry, Kat, I just threw some threw strays at Kat. I'm like, Kat, really reading about religion.
I have a solid and extremely useful and practical liberal arts education. Thank you, America.
Also important.
Well, I think even more important. You could argue
obviously. It's not, but keep going. It's a joke.
I would say, I think you're onto something. I will say, I said some version of what you just said was something that dominated this conversation a few weeks ago we were having, where we were wondering with leaders of medical colleges, why do we allow people to find themselves, and in doing so, what maybe a path that would take 8 years from, say, graduating high school to being a credentialed provider? Maybe that's 8 years, and that's like a combined BA, say MD, plus like 3 years of a training. So you're talking like mid-20s, maybe. We're
best case scenario.
Best case scenario, and some people will say, well, then you're taking the sort of the journey of life out of it and the journey of self-discovery. I'm like, yeah, there's got to be trade-offs here, and maybe there's a trade-off. And for the person that wants to do the journey of life, by all means, but then that's going to come with an economic cost that they can or cannot bear. And it's going to, by the way, take them twice as long. And so we have to start to have this conversation. Some will say, well, are you emotionally mature enough to be having end of life conversations at 26 versus, in my case, it was 35. And so there's always going to be a balance. And yet I don't, because you guys were talking about politics and all the other, obviously broader things that dominate social and our news cycle, we cannot have thoughtful conversations that are nuanced like this at scale, because we're talking about inane, just totally vapid things that dominate our news cycle. And so there's no room for this type of stuff. This is the type of stuff that's going to have generational impact.
That's totally true. Young people can do a lot of things, and it is very much the gerontocracy that controls decisions like this, and that needs to end, right? Young people are now. Kat and I, we're already old news, right? Young people
we're almost in the menopause.
Probably in the menopause, but it just like we have to. Young people have to be part of these decisions, and we need to stop. Just they can do these things. They can do all these things. That is all definitional in your culture.
And I'm trying to find, because there's so many, like, this does come up as like, the provider shortage all the time. And I'm trying to find it. I read it in Health Tech Nerds this morning, but I don't know where it is like, apparently NPs are hot again, even though there was just that huge report a few years ago saying they screwed up healthcare and they're not as good. But now, I feel like you guys are saying, we keep pushing other solutions, but not fixing the whole doctor problem.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think NPs and pharmacists. I was just with a bunch of with this interesting pharmacy conference in Boston last week, and I mean, exactly to the thread that we're talking about. We have 50 different approaches to how pharmacists can practice the art of pharmacy across the United States of America, and we have one national standard for them to pass a national exam. Yet 50 different approaches as to how they can partner with, say, me as a provider to care for a patient. And I'll say in every single instance, Kat and Lisa, where I'm providing care in the intensive care unit right up the street from where I'm sitting, that clinical pharmacist is improving care dramatically. They're telling me what dosing, Vin, have you thought about this? What about deprescribed care? they're exceptionally talented individuals. And yet in a place where we talk about the workforce crisis all the time, burnout all the time, we're underutilizing this cadre dramatically. We have, and it's so complex. Why do we do 50 different approaches, 50 different shades for what should be one collective standard, where in many cases they can provide subacute care, diagnose and treat for subacute conditions just as well as a provider, and do it often at lower cost. Time and time again, studies have shown this. And yet, I'll say this, because of lobbies that support doctors and other headwinds, we don't have a national standard or a national policy as to what they can and cannot do in the care of patients.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. The pie of opportunity is so large because there's so many needs in American healthcare that this is, again, a vapid, inane policy that exists today. But we can't talk about it because it's so crowded out. There's so much noise on nonsense that these substantive conversations on medical education, vocational or not, different pathways, pharmacists,
real problems, real things that we should be talking. This is why I love the VA, because they're like, we don't care about the states. We're federal. We'll like NPs. Yep, you can practice. Come on in. Like, we need help.
An argument for the single payer system.
No, but the VA is always like, yeah, so we're physically located in your state, but we are not part of your state. So the rules of practice, it doesn't matter, which is great because they're just doing whatever they can do to serve veterans who are still frighteningly underserved in healthcare needs and everything else.
Indeed. No, I'll say as it's a 13-year reservist that I think the VA is an integrated healthcare system that gets certain things right. They have a little bit more degrees of freedom, as you just pointed out, and they've had to innovate because they had a long wait list. Back in the waning years of the Obama administration into Trump won, and they had to sort of think outside the box. And so that's a really interesting model for sure.
So, question: we love pharmacists. It seems like you love pharmacists, and I believe you were introduced to us by Pooja Babra from NCPDP. Why in the space of all these things we care about, why are you focused on pharmacy?
It is the one part of the medical ecosystem, I would say that in diagnostics, that has largely up until recently, and you mentioned Cost Plus and GoodRx and some of these other solutions now. I spent a lot of time at Amazon Pharmacy as their chief medical officer, and I think the numbers speak for themselves. And I said, well, gosh, that is a problem that is in need of solutions. But there's a statistic out there that we kept citing because it was sort of opened our eyes to the scope of the problem, that people on average still spend 13 hours in totality every year waiting in the brick and mortar pharmacy line to pick up their medications. And, you wonder why non-adherence rates are up to 50%, why 30% of people don't pick up their refills, why non-adherence, frankly, and medical falsehoods are perhaps 1 and 2 the greatest risk factors for ending up in the hospital. And it comes down to creating a better patient experience. And so I got involved in it because as a clinician, I often see the downstream impacts of medical non-adherence or a terrible patient experience because people skip treatment, skip a med, and then it cascades and it escalates and they end up in an American intensive care unit. I practice in a few of those, and I see that. And what are the levers we can pull to avoid people ending up in the American intensive care unit? Because once a patient ends up in the ICU, say this to 2 people that don't need me to say this, we're basically doing kitchen sink, and we're praying that our kitchen sink approach works. Versus what are the drivers of non-adherence and a poor patient experience that can keep somebody out of the ICU? And so that's what motivated me. And for all its learning experiences and sort of trial and error approach to healthcare, I do think of an entity like Amazon, I'm biased, I spent a lot of time there, has something right when they're applying what they do so well for patients or for customers in retail to the pharmacy experience. And we published one of my last acts there in February of 2025. We published in JAMA showing how the Amazon Pharmacy subscriber experience for a subscription service for your chronic medications not only reduced out-of-pocket costs for our subscription model for chronic medications, but it improved adherence rates. So it wasn't just it was always allergic to me to restate marketing talking points and to just speak in abstractions, because then you're sort of icky. You're just trying to sell something, and that was the last thing I wanted to be involved in. But we had real clinical data, and we showed that when you improve the patient experience, especially when it comes to pharmacy, you can do something meaningful. And I do think Amazon has the type of scale where they can do something meaningful. Mark Cuban has the type of scale, even though elements of their business model need to still be optimized, but they have the type of scale that they can do something interesting. And this is such an area ripe for change, and so that's why that became a focus.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, like when you're a doctor and you're treating someone in an emergency room, like your job is to do everything you can possibly do that individual right in front of you. You don't get to think about population health concerns or, total cost of care concerns broadly. You have to treat that patient in front of you. And we have to get there before that person rolls up into the emergency room. We just have to.
100%. And I think we're going to see that. Because our regulatory environment has, if there's a silver lining of COVID, it's that it's convinced both Republican and Democratic regulators of our healthcare system, especially on the FDA side, even though the FDA is a mess right now, that patients can do more things at home, and we shouldn't be so pedantic and patriarchal to say that they cannot. And I'm a big believer that we need to figure out different ways to screen for high blood pressure. 60 million people have undiagnosed stage 2 hypertension, the leading killer of humanity, and they don't know it because they don't like the screening tools that squeeze their brachial artery. This has been proven time and again. The way we screen for the leading killer of humanity is not consistent with how people want to experience medical care. So they don't do it, and then they end up in an American ICU with a heart attack or a stroke. That's why we have the burden of disease we have. And we can't give everybody an oral GLP, or an injectable. We just need to be better at screening and some of the fundamentals. And so FDA, I've disagreed with 99% of what this administration has done when it comes to healthcare. The 1% I agree with is their approach to regulation of wearables when it comes to cuffless blood pressure detection and how we should be alerting people that maybe there's a problem. We are too patriarchal in our medical device regulatory sort of framework. If it's not perfect, we don't tolerate it and we don't experiment. And yet, I don't think we can't afford to let the perfect be the enemy of the good when it comes to innovating on how we screen for, say, high blood pressure. We have to be willing to take some smart risk.
Love it. We're here for that. Yeah. Well, Dr. Vin Gupta, thank you for coming back. Thank you for making the third and final try, the right try, and the try that
totally
worked out.
legitimizing the Health Tech Talk Show, which is a clown show normally, but whatever.
Because not only are you a real doctor, you also appear to be real media, which is so weird to have in the same time. So thank you for that. And
thank you.
And we're excited to hear about whatever medical school you open in Seattle.
I'll come back.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, send us the link. We'll do a poor screenshot in our next deck whenever that happens.
We'll do the first commencement speech. It's fine.
Yeah, you tell us. We'll be there.
I'm definitely going to do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're coming. We'll make ourselves available.
Thank you, Kat.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Happy
Thanks, everyone.
weekend.
Have a great Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day, everyone. Bye.